Hello, my name is Imani Speak. My show on Sunday between 10 and 1 a.m. and I have some phenomenal guests for you. So make sure you join me and don't go anywhere else.
Egypt, 1728 BC. There were pharaohs walking around looking just like you and me. The Nubian kings were most present in Sudan. They united Egypt, torn apart by war on the land. Come on everybody, learn a little history. Let me tell you about a pharaoh and his name was Seti. His father's name was Ramesses. Don't let nobody tell you that we did not exist. We were there. Black pharaohs, we were there. How many are aware? Black pharaohs, we were there. Don't let them deny it. Don't let them deny it. There was another pharaoh. His name was Amenhotep. He ruled when his father died. It was the 18th dynasty. His mother's name was Neferatiti. Nubia and the Nile Delta. He ruled the land. He built temples in Upper Egypt. I wanna make sure that you understand. We were there. Black pharaohs, we were there. How many are aware? Black pharaohs, we were there. Don't let them deny it. Don't let them deny it. Let's talk about Ptahotep, 25th century BC. Ptahotep was in the 5th dynasty. And what about the Nubian queens? You know they reign supreme. Yeah. There was Queen Tayi, there was Nefertiti, there was Queen Kia, and so many more. It's a part of history you can't ignore. We were there. Black pharaohs, we were there. How many are aware? Black pharaohs, we were there.
Kings and Queens, I am delighted, I'm honoured and happy to invite this week's special guest. He's a phenomenal film producer, filmmaker. His name is Menelik Shabazz. Menelik, are you there?
I am here indeed.
Menelik, I am so happy to have you on the show. You've been on the show before with, other fantastic projects, film projects that you're doing, but you're doing something really different this time, something spectacular. But before we go into that, can you just tell people a little bit about your background?
My background as a filmmaker goes back to some of my early films. I've made films for independently for Channel 4, for BBC, for ITV, and I did a movie back in the day that people will be familiar with, Burning an Illusion. And more recent times, I did the story of Lovers Rock. And in between that, I did Catch a Fire, the story of Paul Bogle, Time in Judgment, and also Blood Go Run, about the new crossfire in March, about People's Day of Action, and in 1982 or 81, and also prior to this film, in my latest film, I did a film called Looking for Love, about black love, black relationship. So there's a number of films that I've been involved with over the years, working, as I say, from the mainstream through to the independent filmmaking. So here's a strand of bandwidth. That's a bandwidth of me as a filmmaker, from the mainstream to working at, like my more recent films, where I'm now working more independently, producing work. Well, what do I want to say about my background? Originally, I should say that I was born in Barbados. And I came to the UK when I was very young. I had no thoughts of ever being a filmmaker. It really came about by it came about when I don't want to say by chance, but it came about when I was 18 doing my A-levels, and I was supposed to go to art school, and I failed one, and in the depths of despair, because all my friends went on to do, and I was supposed to go to art school and get into art school, and I felt like I missed the boat, and then I had to go and retake it. And when I was retaking it, some white guys came into one of the social studies classes and presented this new equipment, the Sony Porter Pack, which was a revolutionary equipment that allowed people to basically, it's like a reel-to-reel with a camera attached to the pack. And that really was a breakthrough for people like me, coming from working class backgrounds, and where the film industry was a kind of million miles away, because the film industry as it was then was very much big cameras, and it was something which I would not have been normally able to access. So this equipment then brought me into the game, really, and I was able to I was excited about this equipment, use it, and start to develop and think about me working with this equipment. And then after that, it led me into going to film school, the London International Film School. I was squatting with a sister from the States who was, she was at film school. And I was excited with this possibility now that I had of this equipment and stuff, and I wanted her to shoot some stuff and do some stuff. And then she kind of asked me with this equipment, all these questions, technical questions, which I didn't know. And she just said, you know what, I don't want to be your donkey, Menelik. I don't guess you're saying that. So you better go to film school. So I applied and got in, and that kind of really transformed my life. So out of despair, I was, streamed into a whole new world, and which I've been ever since. So it's my path, it's my destiny to make films and to reach out and to transform people's lives and to make an impact on our people in particular. In this time when we're walking in a fog. For many decades and decades, we've been in this fog of blindness, and so that's kind of how I kind of got into film, and how I also discovered my path, because in the background, one of the kind of other tracks that was running at the time, I was very much part of the conscious movement which we call Black Power in that time.
Yeah.
So I had that track running along, and so this access to this equipment meant that I could now express my thoughts and my consciousness onto the world.
Awesome.
So yeah, things coming together.
Everything comes together for good in the end. Yeah. That's lovely. I really enjoy it because I didn't know that. I didn't know that about your background, and it's really interesting to hear how you got in, and here we are now celebrating you as a awesome filmmaker. Now I'm really excited about this new project, Pharaohs Unveiled. What made you decide to go into this? This is big, this is huge, and I really want to hear your thoughts. What kind of brought you to saying, I'm going to take on this film?
It's a combination of things coming together yet again. I had been for a long time fascinated by ancient Egypt in terms of books, and I scoured bookshops, old and new, to find information about ancient Kemet, and often that information was it was kind of like surgical. It was kind of facts and figures, and then people would talk about the deities and it all seemed very distant. I couldn't get into who are these people. I mean, of course, I knew they were African people, and there were writers like Sheikh Anta Diop and other people who were writing about that bringing the African origins of this civilization to light.
Yeah.
And then but I had that in me, but I wasn't necessarily inspired to do anything because it was like bare. It wasn't. It's like I did a film on Paul Vogel, Catch a Fire. I was asked to do this film by the BBC or one of the companies supported by the BBC, because I didn't have any information about Paul Vogel. Because in the history books, they wanted this project on him, but there was nothing that's written apart from one. But what I was able to do was to tap into the oral traditions. I went to Jamaica, and because his life, and then I spoke to his great grandson. So that kind of then, and him telling me the story, it kind of brought it to life, and I could see it and I could feel it. But with ancient Kemet now, it was all these books written by various people adding their take on it, but I couldn't get inside, beyond the wall, beyond the hieroglyphics, beyond But then what came together was in the course of this quest. I mean, the quest I'm talking about, going over 40 years of quest. I met Neferatiti Ife.
Yes, beautiful.
And and we met, and we came together as a couple. And the early part of that, I told her that my ex-wife used to channel, and then
Wow.
But she was channeling more at a kind of a lower level. But I had the concept of channeling simply because I read books in my quest to find out about the ancient Kemetians. I was also interested in hearing what these books that they call channel, where these people, these Claudians and rest of which are bringing information from another source.
Yeah.
So I was looking at all these, where I could get information that would give me clues, insight into that world.
Deeper.
I was looking for, So I was familiar with channeling and books that were written by mainly white folks, white guys, mainly men. So when I met my wife, she was connecting, and so that brought me closer to the understanding that that this is closer to me now. I read books, but now here's a living situation.
Yes.
Somebody who could connect. I mean, she wasn't connecting with the comedian. She was more connecting my wife, but she was connecting more. It's kind of bits. She would get different bits of information.
Wow.
But then when I met Nefertiti now, she
went deeper.
She went deeper, and she went deeper. Initially, it was just she was able to write stuff out. So it was
automatic writing.
Automatic writing. Yeah. So that's kind of, and she was, and we were now direct connecting with the Akhenaten, because I had known about Akhenaten, so because she didn't know really that much in terms of the comedian names and all that.
Wow.
So I was like the one that would say, okay, so we connect with Akhenaten, because Akhenaten resonated with me for he was the one spirit from the comedian world that resonated with me. Wow. Over time. So then when she was doing this, so we need to connect with Akhenaten. Anyway, so connected, and this was over 12 years ago. So that began the journey of us connecting. Akhenaten and other spirits from the ancestral world came forth, and so now I was now getting an insider picture of what that world, what they were thinking from the source, as opposed to other people trying to interpret what they
direct. Yes.
Yeah. So that began the journey, and when we did a book out of that, which included the conversation with the Black Man's God, with some of the channelings, which weren't all Cometian, but it was a combination of channeling that we had. But so the journey with the Cometians began. So we had all this information, and then we moved from being written to audio recordings now, and so that then took it to a whole nother level. And so we had all these tapes that were recorded from the ancestral world. And so for me, it was like, what do we do with this information? How do we get it out? How do we, because, they're not giving it to us just for fun. They're giving it to us because they knew that we were the ones that could bring it into this dimension. So, and then we went to Egypt, Kenneth. And then I remember being there, and I said, I was filming a little bit of Nefertiti talking and stuff. I just instinctively knew that, something's going to happen with this. But that was in 2011. And it still wasn't shaping up in my mind yet, even though we shot pieces yet. And then 2 years ago, I said, okay, we need to do something with this footage around Nefertiti, like a 10-15 minute piece, which kind of included some of the footage that we shot of her in Kemet. And then let's make it into something to promote her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. And then once, that door was open, then I thought, okay, let's add other elements to it, other channeling and so on, and see where we go using some, all these images that I was finding. Because one of the things about Kemet and that they documented unprecedented, their culture. It was an unprecedented level. They had statues, they had paintings, and they had writings. And but a lot of this isn't available to people because they're all hidden in museums all around the world.
Around the world, scattered.
Yeah, so when you're seeing images of them, you're only seeing a selected version.
Right.
In the same television puts out a selected version of who we are. So this is what they continue to do. And so, I'm talking about the Egyptologists and all the other people, white people that get involved in this. They're selecting images that fits within their viewed, which is a white or whitened Kemet, whitened Egypt. That's what that's trying to. But really, the images that are out there are very different. And then also ones where they chopped off their noses and all of that. But I was able to then do in the research, find all these images from these photo libraries and other places you can get online. That was now giving me a visual, more of a stronger visual reference. So I then expanded it into a kind of maybe 20 minutes or whatever. Then we did a screening of it, and which was a longer version. And because by that time I decided that I'm going to make it into a bigger bigger project. And then I showed the film, and the film was mainly archives, materials, stills and stuff with her. And stills of Kemet that I've picked up with Neferatiti talking, and we showed the film. And then when I looked at the film, I thought, wow, no, this is a whole other level that we need to go on this film. That then took me up another step, which was saying, okay, I need to do some drama, add some to visualize it using actors, as opposed to just images. So then that led me in the studio and we shot some imagery and stuff. So that was that. And then the other thing that I noted we needed to do was that we need to add other commentators to the project. So then we went to New York and interviewed various scholars and historians, like Neferatiti was one, and Baba Heru, who has a much longer name now. He's changed it, but Baba Heru was the priest of one of the first kind of dedicated Kemetian spiritual centers in New York. And he was also the one that he made the arts for Erykah Badu and a lot of the other artists that are around that. He was kind of a center point, and he was also the husband of Queen Pharoah. So his official name is Heru Ankara Sema Sepeta. But he was commonly known as Baba Heru, leading up to his transformation of his name. And then, as I said, Neferatiti, and then there was also Jabari Osage, who was another historian and priest. So we started to then expand the film and using other elements to it. So that's kind of the journey. And noting on the way that some of the historians we wanted to talk to and bring into the film either didn't respond or were not willing to be with this type of film.
Right.
And you realize that the spirituality element of Kemet is, and when you're talking about channeling and connect with the spirit, even though anybody who's researched Kemet will know this was fundamental to what they did.
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't what they studied in their universities where they got there, whatever. And even though they would talk about Kemet and this is what we did and its influence and all of that, often they themselves weren't spiritual, or they were of another belief system, a lot of them Christians or whatever. So we were finding that we had to talk to people who were spiritual, who could understand how to speak about this aspect of Kemet. And we also added who else we added? Onyeka, Dr. Onyeka Nubia. He was the only UK input we had. So we're finding that in that world, the people who were in it often weren't spiritual, who were speaking about Kemet. And so anyway, it was clear that we had to find people who had a spiritual element to them to be able to begin to get involved in this film. So we did that, and so the film just really grew on its own accord. It wasn't something that I set out at the very beginning to do. it was something which it grew. And I'd say, like, I went up these steps. Every step I went up on top of the pyramid, every step I saw another view, another picture, more imagery. Stuff was just opening up. So that's how I came about this film. As I say, it wasn't planned in that way. And so here we are, making a film which has been, it's the first time ever in the history of cinema, that you had channeling information presented to the world that is clear, concise, and it's also information that changes history.
Yes. Wow.
It changes the way that we understand ancient Kemet, which was the foundation of all the things that we know. All the knowledge that we know comes from the front.
That's where it all started from. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were very excited, but also importantly, they wanted, for the first time, to get their information and their truth across, because they were tired of information about them that was negative and that was not what they were about.
Yeah, what I want to ask you, how did you, and that's, I love that, and I love the spiritual element, because that's something that is, really important to me, and I definitely can see that without that, it just leaves it flat. You do need the spiritual aspect. What I'd ask you, how did you go about choosing the characters like the Pharaoh, like the Queen, how did you, and can you tell us a little bit about them?
Okay, in the film we selected Pharaoh Khufu, who is known as the builder of the Pyramid of Giza, the most important building that we know. And his wife, Penotsim, and in fact they were the last ones that we kind of came up upon.
Really? No.
But we had other challenges, so many, and so Akhenaten was important. So we selected Akhenaten because Akhenaten is known in history as the father of the one God religion and all of that, but it's not actually true. And the way that he's been presented, because he's presented that the religions that have this, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they come from his font in a way, or his influence, but he himself wasn't. And the Kemetians believed in a one God concept from the get-go. It was not new. And his knowledge wasn't so much around that. His knowledge was obviously to get people to connect with the deity in a way, I guess a similar example is today, people, they say they worship Jesus instead of the creator.
Right, yes.
They have the creator consciousness within them, or they understand it, but they tend to emphasize Jesus.
Yeah.
Back in the Kemet, they were emphasizing the deities.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing that Queen Nefertiti talks about when she says, because they work against the that, if there was a spot on their nose, the people would go to the priest. If there was a spot on their backside, they would go to the priest. So it was this kind of, the people had kind of lost their way in terms of connecting. So he was trying to say, look, you need to go back to the source. You are the source. You are connected. You have the power within you. Just don't forget that. And activate the power within you. And so Akhenaten was about transforming and bringing love. He was the first love person that kind of emphasized the love. Not that it wasn't there, it's just emphasizing. just like how, Martin Luther King would emphasize peace and love. It wasn't that he wasn't there, but he brought that into that time, emphasized it. So he was doing that, and with his wife Nefertiti, and they were about empowering the people and taking away the power of the priests, because the priests, like in this time, had a very strong hold on the people.
Yeah.
And so they were want to break in that and tell the people, go direct to your source, your inside of you. And so they came up against a lot of opposition from the priests, as you would imagine. In the same way that today, which is what our film is kind of mirroring in a way, we're going out and we're saying to the people,
you have
connect with yourself. Yeah, you have the power within yourself. And so obviously the priests are not going to like that. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to get, but in the, so he was about peace and love and bringing the people to themselves, and of course Nefertiti. And so we feature him. We also his spirit, and then we feature his wife Nefertiti. He was one of 5 wives he had.
Right.
She talks about it. She talks about him, her being, one of the wives. But the main wife, she became very important to him in a way that, and because they had the same vision. Because as she says in the film, is that she wanted to know when she was even very young, in the priests and going into the temples, which was meditation, where they used to have meditation and meetings and so on. And she wanted to know why the priests were killing the people, killing the souls of the people, and she was saying it wasn't that they were killing them through poison or whatever, or arrows or anything physical. It was because they were taking away the souls of the people by So that was what they were about and focusing on. And so the other focus in the film, in terms of the ancestral spirits, was Imhotep, who is known as the father of medicine, and given him a Greek name, Asclepius. And he talks about what he was doing, and his work and his healing, and so on. So we selected from the library of recordings these people or spirits, because we felt what they had to say was important to the film, important to the message that they want to put out into the world.
And relevant to our times as well.
And relevant to our times, because they talk about what's happening with us in this time and so on. So they were selected by what was being said and how it worked in terms of the film, and so on. That was how we came about, and then I was just saying, the Khufu, he built the temples and so on, but what they talk about is that they came from the stars. This is how they say, we came from the stars, we incarnated here to raise the vibration of the planet.
Yes.
And there's a little bit on the trailer of the film, there's a little bit where his wife repeats some of that in Henderson. She talks about, we came to because they came to bring love. And their vision wasn't just in the area of, Kemet, but it was the whole of Africa, the whole of the world. And so they were to build healing centers, which you know as the pyramids, all around the world. So their vision was global. And so they were positioned all around the world, and there were populations of them around the world to raise the vibration of the planet. And that's why all these cultures have these pyramids, but they claimed them, all these temples that are made out of stone, because we were the stone builders. Nobody else had that knowledge. And so they built it all around the world, and then other cultures now claim it as if it's theirs. As they do with us culture, they're always claiming pieces of our culture. They're claiming Kemet, they're claiming, you can go on and on. They're claiming, buildings that they have no idea how they were built. So Kopu was important, and his wife, because we were also conscious of doing the film in pairs, because their whole symbol of Kemet is balance. Ma'at.
Yes, Ma'at.
So that's balance, male and female. They understood that the creator was male and female, and we were all in the image of the male and female. Everything's male and female balance. And so they were, that template they saw and understood. They saw in nature, everything was in balance. Male and female existed in nature and everything. That creates life. Is male and female. So that was the foundation of Kemet, balance. And so each one had brought to the film a different aspect of the Kemetian life, spirituality.
No, that's awesome. Hearing you break it down like that, and just everything you're saying, it just makes me feel, how I see spirituality is exactly as you've just said, and obviously that's what was channeled for Neferatiti. So it shows that the way we're thinking about spirituality, it's the right path, and they're confirming it, and really just letting people know to go go within. You don't need to have a middleman or an agent or what have you.
Yeah, I mean the deities. I mean, the deities were what people call here the gods. Yeah, but they were actually energies. So they were, the Kemetians weren't saying you shouldn't connect with your deity, because the deities were there to kind of help you in your personal growth. Like the Orisha, so other people call it the Orishas and so on. So they were there to help you with your personal growth, but they were not to be a substitute. And they were, and the deities were not made of men and women. They were energies of the one that you tapped into. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same way that people, the water, and these were the elements essentially. And so they made the elements into what you call deities. Like water was important, wind or air. Air,
fire, water.
That's right. Earth, right. So they revered Mother Earth. They revered nature, and they tapped into the knowledge of wisdom of nature as an aspect of the Creator. So what happens is that they, by tapping into nature, they also were able to harness information and also empowerment, because all of the things that they created came where they were able to harness the energy of nature. They didn't just say, okay, call in the Creator, let's create these temples. No, they called in every element to harness that, to be able to manifest the buildings, because the buildings were not made to slaves, which is a lie. There were no slave Kemet. They were not made to builders, because a lot of historians have tried to do that, haven't they? You've seen this programs on television where they tried to mimic how the Kemetians did what they did, and they still can't. Because and when you go to Kemet, you will see these amazing buildings that were precise in their cut. Everything, and they had no tools to do it like modern day tools, but they did it because they were able to harness collectively the energy, manifest the buildings. That's the level
see it,
they were on.
Believe it, and
by harnessing, and they harnessed and they were asked so that's kind of the knowledge that they had was at a very, very high level, and they also understood that this knowledge they could not leave on the planet, and they say from the ancestors that we took our knowledge with us because we couldn't leave it. and so that's why people today can't figure out how, because that knowledge has not been passed on. And unless you go to the spirit world and talk to them, and they can vet you, and then they will give you. Because I mean, obviously, we've been vetted. I mean, they don't give you information
just like that.
No. They know who we are already. I mean, it's not even vetted. They know. So, and they know before we were coming onto this planet. They know. So they have a very high level. They can also see into the future, and they saw that there will come a time when their knowledge and our people will be knocked down. And so they put everything in stone, and so that we could remember. Now we can go to Kemet and see who they were. So they knew this day would come.
Wow.
And because they can go into the future and they can go into the past, and they can go sideways and other ways. I mean, they were, as I say, on a level that we have no real, concept of.
Today,
mostly, yeah. So these are the nature of the people that we were dealing with. These are our ancestors, and they were also able to keep that knowledge and know that one day that their people would return to the knowledge, but through the spirit world.
That makes sense.
And so that's where they're waiting and ready. So the film is bringing forward some of that. There's a lot more, but we're bringing through. We're opening up the first portal, the first way, and so also it will encourage others to understand this is so, to understand our ancestors live and you can feel them, because that was important, that we feel, because we are feeling people, and if you can't feel that, then it's a bit distant. Yes. And also for other people to come forth and channel knowledge, because now you're opening up a portal.
Yes.
It's just like opening up a library.
It is that,
okay, so now, yeah, because you'll see that Nef can do it. So now, because Nef saw that my ex-wife could do it, so she then said, "Oh, okay."
I'm gonna do it,
and she went and bought a book on Open to Channel book, and so she then took it on. And then other people say, "Okay, well, Nef can do it." So it goes on and on. So that's kind of, that's part of it. And I don't know if all your readers understand what channeling is, because again, we're using these different words there for things that we kind of know, but we may call it a different name. The ancestors call it journeying. Some people call it going into the spirit. Some people, I don't know, the different names that we have. But it's different. It's different to medium, being a medium, mediumship.
Yeah, because
the mediums,
just they go with people's path. Yeah.
They do, but also they do it secondhand. So like they would say, "Oh, I heard this is what your grandfather said." There's a ring. You know what I mean? But it's secondhand.
Secondhand information.
Yeah, because they're getting information and then they're translating it to you, to their words, not to the words of the grandparent or whoever you're channeling. Yeah. The channel is where you open yourself up directly to the source of information. There's no go-between. There's no go-between. Some people call it clairaudience. In the English dictionary, it's called clairaudience. So there are different words for it. And also, most of the artists and the musicians, they channel. Yes. The good ones, they're channeling. They get information, and it comes to the music. It comes to even reggae music. A lot of it is channeled because the artists don't really know a lot of where it came from. You just can't. And that's also why it carries a certain power, because it's coming from a place, a source. It's open. They're open up to that energy, bigger than them. So that's channeling. So there are different variations of channeling. Then you have the kind of what we call a low level channeling, where people talk, they go into tongues and all of that. We call that kind of lower level because you can't understand what is being said. And in the spirit world, they don't have the what's the word? They're not at the level to be able to translate it into the language. Where we're dealing with higher beings who are able to translate into the language that
you're speaking. Yes, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. It's a psychic. It's a kind of. I suppose it's. I suppose in a dream, you're hearing people talking.
That's right. Yeah.
And the people that are talking to you may not come from your language.
True. Very true.
But they're speaking. But you're
receiving it. Yes.
Yes. Right. So it's so when people to understand channeling, you have to understand it's you have to open up yourself. You have to slow your mind down. Your mind has to be still. Your mind can't be running around. You have to be in a meditative state in order to be in a place to be able to receive that kind of input. And what is creative, because myself, I channel when I'm writing. I can channel.
Yeah.
And stories and different things just come through me. But you have to be in that place. So channeling is not far off from all of us. We're all connected to it in some form. But what's happened is Neferatiti has a gift to be able to bring it clear as I'm talking.
Clear, which is why we call it clear audience.
Yes, yeah. So she's able, and we record those conversations. And so once we recorded it, I then, in the film, I'll visualize what those conversations have been for a while. So yeah.
So I love that in that you're both working in unison. With the clear audience from Neferatiti, and then you visualize it and bring it to life so that we can see it. And beautiful. Love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
I know you're sort of pressed for time, but I want to ask you how first of all, can people contact you? How can they see the movie? Where is it up and down the country? Can you explain those logistics for us?
Right. Currently, the film is going to be in Derby at the Quad this Saturday, the 30th of November, at 6:30 for those who are in the Midlands or that side of the Midlands. So that's where people can see the film. We're also in London on the 3rd. We're in Lewisham at the Black Fathers Group and Sisters Group. And then we're doing a screening on the 7th in Tottenham, North London, which is at 5:30. And that's a market and a screening event. So people will be able to come and get readings, buy other cultural products and all of that, as well as see the film. So that's happening on the 7th of December in Tottenham. But for people to get the information, they can go on the website, which is all the W's, pharaohsunveiled.com, and you will then find the screening dates and information. So that's again pharaohsunveiled.com, where you can find the information. And thereafter, on the 13th of December, people will be able to watch it online. They can pay per view, watch it, and the DVD is coming out a little later in the month, hopefully by the middle of December. We'll have the DVD out. People can buy that, and you can sign up for DVD you can pre-order the DVD on the website. And so that's kind of what we're doing now, so that's how you can get access to the film. Either come to the screening in Derby or into London screenings if you want to be part of a communal experience, or they can watch it, stream it online from the 13th of December. So Yes, so it's all happening, and it's been an amazing journey for us to see how this film has been taken by people, because we weren't sure how people are going to respond, because we're heavily into Christian or Islam, and so we all these different spiritual belief systems, and so they kind of don't encourage ancestral or even a positive view of ancient Kemet. The pharaohs is a negative connotation in the books, so we're fighting, and also Egyptologists with their negativity, the mummies and the gods and the Book of the Dead and all these different terminologies and stuff they're using. So it's so we are, as I say, the burning spear, and we're bringing to light the half that's never been told, as has been said by the film.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, this is amazing, and to be able to speak to you directly and have you share, the vision of how this came about, is a wonderful thing. So, anything else you want to? Is there anything you want to add or say, to anybody, to the people before we? Because I know you're trying to get to another meeting.
Only to say, if you are open, if you're able to embrace a higher knowledge bigger than what you know, then the film is for you. And so, it's a calling of those light beings who are able to understand that there's knowledge bigger than what we know, and that knowledge is going to take us forward into us being bigger than what we know of ourselves. So that's the journey, and that's my talk to those who are listening. And I look forward to seeing you all at the screenings, where and when. Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Menelik, so much. Really appreciate your time and really appreciate what you've put out there for us. Thank you so much, and I wish you every success.
Thank you, and you too. Love and light.
Love and light.